Next, I will walk you through the process of installing MySQL database that stores our application's data. In details, I will show you how to download the installer program for MySQL version 8.0 on Windows 10 operating system, and then how to set up MySQL Community Server, which is a free version of MySQL database, and then how to set up MySQL Workbench, a visual tool for managing databases on MySQL Server. MySQL Workbench is also free. Go to the homepage of MySQL database at this URL mysql.org. You see, this is the official homepage of MySQL database, and click the link MySQL downloads and click MySQL Community Server to download the free version of MySQL database server, and choose the operating system according to your computer. I'm using Microsoft Windows, and click go to download page, and click the download button of the last item for MySQL installer, and the first item is for MySQL installer web version. So click download button here. No thanks, just start my download. And we are downloading installer program for MySQL database for Windows operating system. Okay, the download complete. Click show in folder, and it is strongly recommended to verify the integrity of the installer program by comparing its checksum signature. Here you can see the MD5 signature of the installer published on MySQL website here. And now we need to open the command prompt and change the directory to the directory downloads here, and run this command search ut -hash file, and then the file name, and then MD5, and you can see the signature MD5 checksum value here, and I compare it with the value published on MySQL website. Okay, correct. That means the installer program is safe to use. And double click here to launch the MySQL installer program. Here comes the MySQL installer program, and by default it recommends the setup type developer default here, and you can see it will install MySQL Server, MySQL Shell, MySQL Workbench, MySQL for Visual Studio, MySQL connector for Java.NET examples. We don't need to install MySQL for Visual Studio and MySQL connector, so choose the setup type is custom, and click next. And here we choose to install only MySQL Server 8.0 here, and for the applications we choose to install MySQL Workbench here. Okay, we just install these two programs, and click next, and you see MySQL Server setup requires Microsoft Visual C++ redigestible package to be installed. Click execute, and it will install Microsoft Visual C++ runtime. Check this option, I agree. Click install, close. Okay, and click next, and click execute. It is installing MySQL Server version 8.0.22. and installing MySQL Workbench. Okay, done, and click next, and we are ready to configure MySQL Server. Next. Here we use the default configurations for server type and networking. Server type is for development computer, and connectivity is over TCP/IP, and click next. And for authentication method, we choose to use a legacy authentication method, and click next. And here we need to specify the password for the root user, and repeat the password, and click next. And here we are going to install MySQL database server as the Windows service, and we can change the service name here. Here I leave the default name as MySQL 8.0, and the default option, we start the SQL Server as system startup. Okay, and click next, and click execute. It is initializing database. That may take a long time. Okay, the configuration for MySQL Server was successful, and click finish, and click next. And this option will start MySQL Workbench after setup. Click finish, and you see MySQL Workbench is up and running. Now I will check the status of MySQL Server. Right click on taskbar, Task Manager, and click the Services tab, and look for the service name MySQL 8.0 here, and you can see the service name MySQL 8.0 here. The status is running. That means MySQL database server is running as a Windows service. You can manage start, stop, restart MySQL database server right inside the services tab here. Now let me open the MySQL command line client program. You can see after installing MySQL database server, you can see the recently added program MySQL 8.0 command line client here. Click and enter the password for the root user. You see it's successfully connected to the server, and you can see the SQL Server version is 8.2.22 MySQL Community Server here. And you can type the first command, status, and you can see the status, the connection, current database, and other information. And then you can type this command, show databases, to list all the databases on the server. And you can see by default MySQL Server comes with this system databases, and type exit to quit the MySQL command line client program. Now switch to MySQL Workbench, and I will make a new connection to MySQL Server. Click on the default local instance MySQL 8.0 here, and enter the password for the user root. Okay, and you see it connected to MySQL Server, and this is navigator. This is schemas here, and later in this course we will use this MySQL Workbench to manage the data of our application. For now, just close the Workbench to disconnect from the MySQL Server, and thus we have done installation of MySQL Community Server and MySQL Workbench.